I love this.
She told me about that. I guess if your eyes get old, you need those big
I
things.
appreciate that. A little humor, we need more of it.
Little humors. Yep.
That's why I drink something with lemon in it every day. Because I don't ever want to go there because they're so painful. Oh, yeah. That's always how it is. I don't know. It's sick. It's always going to be on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. Just never. Oh, back to school. Yeah.
Close. I mean. Yes.
Oh, boy, oh, boy.
Small crowd.
And now they do laser.
He says it's not. Looking for more of his questions. Go back to the same.
It's just a waste of paper, actually.
Great. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's government at the best.
When did you put it in there?
When I got the
Do you want to pull the? Bring your pen today?
Yeah, I think I did. I also didn't bring the computer.
My best. Yeah, he can have one.
Hi there.
He likes pretty pictures.
All right. Why am I not in here? Thanks, sir. All right.
Didn't have cameras when you went to school.
No, that's the artist sketches.
We have it by college. He's the vice president.
Thought he was an attorney.
When we were supposed to.
Well, then the guys have. The guys have three lawns, the alcohol.
What are we supposed to be doing? Dressing for St. Patty's?
I don't know. No, I just noticed the ladies were wearing shorts. Of course, that white is nice and loud.
You know, my mother's name was O'Connell.
Oh, yeah?
And as a kid growing up, I never got out of the house on St. Patty's Day without having some kind of greeting.
I could have wore a peach.
You're fair. You look
Do
good.
you have any Irish blood in you?
The guys didn't wear pastels years ago. You know.
I even wore pink.
Did you really?
My daughter got me a pink sport jacket.
Really? You wore it.
I wore it. I outgrew it, but I wore it.
My mother's maiden name was O'Connell. Now that isn't that much. I learned to spell. I used to have to take dry cleaners. We lived with my grandmother and my aunt and uncle were there too, so there was a whole bunch of us together. And they'd say, "Donna, when on your way to school today, take this up to the dry cleaner." O'Connell. How do you spell it? O-C-O-N-N-E-L-L. Okay, thank you.
Now we gotta find this one.
What are you digging for? Gold?
No, I want the connector for that, so I
Oh.
can charge it while we're sitting.
What's that right there?
That's for this one. I can plug two in at a time. Either that or I have to
You know,
turn.
I just bought that laptop and I bought a USB connector that rotates. It plugs in one place, but it's got 4 different outlets.
Yeah, they're neat. Yeah,
Because that laptop I bought didn't come with a hard drive.
yeah.
And then I bought a USB.
Would it have about 500 gigs on it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but it didn't have a CD drive or a burner.
yeah, they usually don't
And
use
then
it.
I also bought a remote mouse because they had that new pad. I bought it. I love that remote mouse. It's cool.
They're nice. I guess I don't really feel very well, so I should keep stuff handy up here.
You see my daughter right there? Huh?
I didn't know.
She's right there in the front row next to me.
Oh, yeah, there she is. Hi.
I introduced her to Edie and Pam.
Oh, did you see?
And I thanked Dan for showing up.
Well, he got another notice, I think. So.
Oh no. Wake up, Mike. Did you notice this?
Because when somebody brings it up at a prior meeting,
Go sit down here at least.
Yeah. Is she here?
I have no idea. Wouldn't know who she was. There was some dark-haired girl in talking to me before.
She's a good judge.
Is this gal here?
Kelly here?
She
Kelly,
in attendance
Judge Kelly
tonight?
here?
Who was the dark-haired girl who was in talking to you before in your office? Well, that's who that was.
No, I don't see Kathy here. Kathy isn't here, I don't think. No, I don't see her, unless she's on the side in that case.
The girl in the back is the HR person.
Right?
What's her name?
Laura,
Just tell him, just please.
with a very unpronounceable last name.
She's standing between sheep and shop.
Yeah, he's pointing around, but he doesn't know her name.
Come around more often.
I don't need to know her name. What do I need to know her name for?
I should put that away.
Get the trip to go back.
My friends are all going back. It's time to go back. My beautiful beaches in this bigger, becoming big resorts. If I'd only, my first assignment was on the beach. And I had dreams of living on the beach, but then it was just you and the pigs. It was a military
You guys ready to go?
now, resorts and stuff.
you guys all ready to go?
No, I'm not
Okay.
ready yet. I'm
James?
getting my papers together. Which addenda are we using tonight?
Oh, okay.
Which one?
Yeah, we've got
Is it
the
the amended or
upgrade.
the addenda?
The amended.
This one? Or this one? Okay.
Okay, let's go ahead and get her started here. go ahead and call this meeting to order. Please rise and remove your hats for the invocation. Father God, we thank you for the opportunity to gather together tonight to conduct the town's business. Father, we ask that you would help us to properly discharge the stewardships that you've entrusted us with. Father, help us to do the town's business in an orderly manner. We ask these things in our Lord Jesus' precious name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Miss Lewis, may we have the roll call?
You certainly may. Good evening. Councilmember McKee. Here. Councilmember Turner.
Here.
Councilmember Wojcik.
Here.
Councilmember Hatch. Here. Councilmember Best.
Here.
Vice Mayor Croft.
Here.
Mayor Marley.
Here.
All present.
All right. Introductions, presentations, and proclamations. We have a proclamation here declaring April 7th, 2015 as the Mayor's Day of Recognition for National Service, sponsored by the Corporation for National and Community Service. Do we have anyone here from the Senior Corps and America Corps? All right. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Lloyd Weathers. I work with Arizona Serve as the Visit Team Leader, National Service Program out of Prescott College. Okay. I live in Prescott, Arizona.
All right. Thank you. If you folks have a microphone, I'll come up and read the proclamation.
Lloyd.
I thought this was sort of cool. They made it in large print, and it's the AmeriCorps and Senior Corps. Whereas service to others is a hallmark of the American character and central to how we meet our challenges, and whereas the nation's mayors are increasingly turning to national service and volunteerism as a cost-effective strategy to meet city needs, and whereas AmeriCorps and the Senior Corps address the most pressing challenges facing our cities and nation, from educating students for the jobs of the 21st century and supporting veterans and military families, to preserving the environment and helping communities recover from natural disasters, and whereas national service expands economic opportunity by creating more sustainable, resilient communities and providing education, career skills, and leadership abilities for those who serve, and whereas national service participants serve in more than 70,000 locations across the country, bolstering the civic, neighborhood, and faith-based organizations that are so vital to our economic and social well-being, and whereas national service participants increase the impact of the organizations they serve with, both through their direct service and by recruiting and managing millions of additional volunteers, and whereas national service represents a unique public-private partnership that invests in community solutions and leverages non-federal resources to strengthen community impact and increase the return on taxpayer dollars, and whereas AmeriCorps members and Senior Corps volunteers demonstrate commitment, dedication, and patriotism by making an intensive commitment to service, a commitment that remains with them in their future endeavors, and whereas the Corporation for National and Community Service shares a priority with mayors nationwide to engage citizens, improve lives, and strengthen communities, and is joining with the National League of Cities, City of Service, and mayors across the country to recognize the impact of service on the Mayor's Day of Recognition for National Service on April 7th, 2015. Now therefore, I, Chris Marley, Mayor of the Town of Chino Valley, do hereby proclaim April 7th, 2015 as 2015 Mayor's Day of Recognition for National Service in Chino Valley, Arizona, and urge all of our citizens to recognize the positive impact of national service in our town and to thank those who serve and to find ways to give back to their communities.
Thank you very much.
All right. Did you need to say anything about that?
Yeah. So, like I said, I run National Service Program out of Prescott College. We have lots of different National Service members in different departments that are working throughout Yavapai County and in Chino Valley to better our communities, and we appreciate the town of Chino Valley for still supporting National Service Programming here in Chino Valley.
Thank you. Are you going to be here for a minute? I can get the proclamation signed, and our clerk will get it to you. Our next item is a Yavapai College update by Dr. Clint Ewell, Vice President for Finance and Administrative Services. Mr. Ewell.
Mayor Marley, members of the council, again, my name is Clint Ewell. Thank you so much for allowing me to come out and give a brief update on the college. My primary purpose is to just walk you through this document that I passed out before the meeting, and for those of you in the audience who are interested, I did not bring enough for everyone, but if we share, and there is an electronic version available on our website for anybody who's interested and doesn't get a copy this evening. As you all know, we are trying to make a concerted effort to get out to all the cities and towns that we service here in the county and do more updates on the kinds of work that we're doing on your behalf. This is our first ever governing board annual report, and I think it's a good start for us. We would very much love your feedback as you have time to look through this. But essentially, it walks readers through the way that we govern ourselves, which is the policy governance model. It talks to you about the three main goals of the college, which are education, economic development, and cultural enrichment. It talks a little bit about our budget process, and it talks about our foundation. So again, we're really proud of this document. This is information that has probably always been available in bits and pieces in newspaper articles and on our website, but here it is all consolidated, hopefully making it easier for you to understand the kinds of work that we're doing. In addition to what you will find in that document, there are a couple other things that we are working on your behalf. As you may know, our Regional Economic Development Center is conducting research for your town manager's office, and we are also doing some weekly counseling thanks to your support by providing us with office space here in town. I've also been asked to give a brief update on education in Arizona as far as this legislative session. As you probably all saw a week or two ago in the newspapers, the legislature has cut educational funding once again, higher ed by 14%, and I think the net effect on K through 12 is 1 or 2%. Folks, at this point, Arizona is 47th out of 50 states in funding per student, both at the K through 12 level and at the college level. We are doing everything in our power to try to mitigate this. We're trying to become more effective and more efficient. Having said that, we will be approaching our board for a 2% property tax increase. It's our first one in 3 years. We don't make this decision or recommendation lightly, but it's something that we feel we need to do to help protect the quality of education that we're able to provide and to continue to be able to provide support services such as dual credit and offer new kinds of programs and degrees. So with that, I would stand ready for any kinds of questions that you might have for me about the college.
Okay. Are there any questions on this side? Yes, sir.
What's the future look for the Chino Valley campus here? Here in Chino Valley?
I'm glad you asked. One of the things I forgot to mention is that at our February board meeting, we did recommend slowing down our campus master plan. So instead of over a 10-year period, we're slowing it down to a 14-year period. We've asked them, and they have agreed to slow down any kind of thoughts of moving out of this center prior to 2022. So we're going to be working closely with you all, John Morgan and and others will be continuing to work with you to figure out ways to help grow enrollment and make sure that we're offering the right kinds of programs to serve your community.
Great,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any others on this side?
Daryl asked my question, so
All
I'm
right.
good.
Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yeah. All right, our next item is call to the public. Call to the public is an opportunity for the public to address the council concerning a subject that is not on the agenda. Total time for call to the public may be up to 30 minutes per meeting. Council action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, scheduling the matter for further consideration and decision at a later date, or responding to criticism. You spoke to me before. You'll be first, sir. Please, if you would, come up and step up to the microphone and give us your name, if you would.
Yeah, my name is Jimmy Whited. I've lived here in Chino for 32 years. I want to announce tonight that on April the 8th, next month, 2015, veterans from the Tri-City area and other places will be will demonstrate at the Yavapai County Courthouse down at the square against Islam here in the United States of America. We will also demonstrate against our current administration. I believe that the majority of voters believe he is a Muslim. I definitely do. His cabinet is made up with Muslims. This progressive administration has turned our system of government upside down. When a thief breaks into your home and your dog traps him in your bathroom, which this actually happened.
Excuse me.
What?
It's, okay.
What's the problem?
Okay. There's a question from the council as regarding this being a political speech. It isn't for an election. You're not running for an election. And yet, if you would, just let folks know this is what you're demonstrating for, and we'll call it at that. Is that okay with our council?
I'd like an opinion from our council that must be more limited than the extent he's going to. It's using town resources for political motives.
Well, he's.
I don't think it's for political purposes. I think it's for the survival of this country.
Excuse me for just a second, sir. Does this fall within our First Amendment rights of free speech?
Well, here's the thing. Your call to the public is for matters that are within the jurisdiction of the council.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure that the speech against the current administration is necessarily within the jurisdiction of the council. I think that the announcement of the demonstration was fine.
Okay, because we do, or we have in the past, received announcements of various Chamber of Commerce events.
Correct.
We've received announcements of events up in Paulden, and so we have an announcement of an event, and from what I understand, it's a demonstration by the veterans against a couple of different things. Correct,
Right,
sir?
that's correct, yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
That's it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, other items for call to the public? Yes, sir.
My name is Ron Romley. I live in Chino Valley. This is our 7th year that we've been asking for a grant from ADOT for Yavapai Regional Transit. I just wanted to stand up here and ask once again if the mayor couldn't send us a letter of support. We started this thing out several years ago as Chino Valley Transit. We flipped over to Yavapai Regional Transit, but a letter of support would, from all 3 of the Tri-City area mayors would really go a long way with helping us receive our grant. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Romley, that letter of support is just from the mayor or from the entire council? Because we, okay, it would have to be an agendized item then, so, okay, we can do that. Thank you. Next, anyone else for call to the public? Okay, yes, sir, in the front.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. My name's Norm Freeman. This is just real short, just a suggestion, that's all. I printed off the agenda before I came over tonight. It was amended yesterday, and I was just going to suggest that when agendas are amended, what could appear to be within a 24-hour period of the meeting, my suggestion is just to put the time on there. So everybody's above reproach, nobody has any questions about it. I've seen that done by other agencies, and it just makes it real clear to everybody that everything's good. That was just a suggestion. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
My name is Dan Carlson. I'm a resident of Chino Valley. I just wanted to thank the 7 of you for the difficult jobs that I know that you guys have to deal with on a bi-weekly, all the time basis. You've got very, very difficult decisions to make. I know that we all have our vision of what we would like Chino Valley to be. And the toughest thing is to make everybody happy. It's going to cost a lot of money. You need to prioritize what is important and decide on if you're going to have to raise taxes or not raise taxes, whether the people who say they love the swimming pool are willing to pay for the swimming pool, the people who love the skate park, are they willing to pay for the skate park? If we want nice roads and things like that. I mean, I would love for Chino Valley to be like Main Street USA on Disneyland, you know, or Mayberry RFD. And I'm willing to pay for a dream like that. But we have a very diverse council, which I appreciate very, very much. I like the different personalities. I like the discussions. I like the disagreements. That's the only way that decisions are going to be made. The only thing that I ask is when you do decide to make some changes and things like that, you know, the economic aspect and how it's going to affect people. I was just sitting here and seeing the Yavapai Regional Transit Management here. You know, you've decided we're going to do the swimming pool. Maybe you can incorporate them and have them pick up kids and take them to the pool. You know, if they're going to be charged $2 for going to the pool, charge $2.50 and include the ride back and forth or something like that. There's a lot of ideas out there, and you guys have a very, very difficult job. Please listen to each other too. That's all I ask. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for call to the public? Okay, thank you. Call to the public is now closed. Response to the public. Response to the public is an opportunity for the mayor to inform the public about how town officials address matters raised during call to the public at a previous meeting. And our response to the public is to Mr. McCauley's call to the public 2 weeks ago. On September 2nd, 2014, the Chino Valley Police Department began an investigation into what appeared to be a violation of Arizona's conflict of interest laws by 2 members of the Chino Valley Planning and Zoning Commission. Knowingly violating conflict of interest laws can result in a Class 6 felony. As the investigation was drawing to a close, Chino Valley Mayor Chris Marley received a status report on September 9th from the Chino Valley Police Department indicating that although the investigation had not been completed, preliminary findings indicated that there had been a violation of state statute and that criminal charges may be forthcoming, thus sending the case to the Yavapai County Attorney's Office. At that time, there was an upcoming planning and zoning hearing scheduled for September 16th, which involved a possible ruling on the property, which was part of the ongoing investigation. Since there was no provision in the Unified Development Ordinance for suspension of commission members during the course of an investigation, and the county attorney's office had not yet met to discuss the case, the Chino Valley Town Council voted after executive session on September 9th, 2014, to remove the two commissioners pursuant to Town Code Section 30.071. Council later received notification that one of the commissioners, Mr. Edmonds, had sent in a letter of resignation effective September 4th, which was prior to the executive session. Since neither the Town Code nor the Unified Development Ordinance requires a hearing prior to dismissal of a commissioner, the town's attorney determined that according to Town Code Section 30.071, commissioners serve at the pleasure of the council, and therefore an executive session with a 24-hour notice to the commissioner was all that was required. The town's Unified Development Ordinance Section 1.4.1 states that members of the commission may be removed by the council for inefficiency, neglect of duty, excessive absenteeism, or malfeasance in office subsequent to an executive session. On November 3rd, the Chino Valley Police Department received notice from the Yavapai County Attorney's Office that although Mr. Edmonds and Mr. McCauley had publicly indicated that they had an interest in the matters before the commission, there was no evidence that their votes conferred a direct economic benefit on either person. Therefore, their conduct did not rise to the level of a criminal violation of the statute. Since the Chino Valley Town Council voted after an executive session to remove Mr. McCauley from his position without giving him the required 24-hour notice, the mayor will schedule an executive session for May 12th with the required 24-hour prior notice to Mr. McCauley in order to discuss his earlier dismissal. Our next item is current event summaries and reports. This item is for information only. The mayor, any council member, or town manager may present a brief summary or report of current events or ask a staff member to provide the same. Presentation on information requested by the mayor and council will be made and questions answered. No action will be taken. Do we have any status reports or committee reports from this side? No. Any committee reports from this side? No.
Committee, do you want me to?
Yes, sir. You investigated into something that was brought up at the last meeting?
Yeah, last week it called to the public. We had a citizen that stood up and was speaking about the cell tower issue and made a comment that they had heard that there was possibly issues with Verizon as far as getting any kind of permitting through the town of Chino Valley. So the day after, I investigated that with town staff and verified that in the last 2 years, Verizon has made no attempts or requests for permitting in the town of Chino Valley. So just so we know about that.
Okay, thank you. Our mayor's report is on UDO reform. This should hit a nerve with a lot of folks. So, one of the many hindrances to business health in Chino Valley over the last few years has been a collection of rules known as the town's Unified Development Ordinance. For business owners and citizens alike, the UDO, as it is commonly called, has often proved to be a source of unending frustration, with some businesses going so far as to move to other municipalities in order to find a more accommodating business climate. Sign regulations, parking lot regulations, and engineering regulations can create such a harsh environment for businesses that oftentimes many prospective business owners simply pass by Chino Valley in their search for a place to settle. If we are to have a stable economic base here in Chino Valley, we need to find relief for the employers who are already located here and an attractive environment for those who are considering moving to the region. One of the chief sources of aggravation for many business owners is the town's sign ordinance. This section of the UDO has been a source of numerous complaints over the last few years, and now that some of our greatest hurdles are out of the way, we're finally getting an opportunity to address it. As last year drew to a close, discussions started between council and staff regarding the complete overhaul of this portion of the town's UDO. And hopefully we will be seeing some preliminary outlines going before our Planning and Zoning Commission sometime in April. Although at first glance this should be a fairly straightforward process, signage can actually be quite a high-profile issue. Balancing the concerns of the business owners, whose livelihood depends on their advertisements being seen, and the citizens who wish to reduce the visual clutter can prove to be somewhat of a challenge. Areas of concern regarding signage include location, size, number, and even height. Somewhere between a $50,000 electronic billboard and a hand-painted sheet of plywood lies the answer, and this is where we need input from the people of Chino Valley. Ruth Mayday, our Director of Development Services, is requesting input on signage from our business community and our citizens alike. Our businesses need signs that make them easy for customers to find, and our citizens want to keep the rural atmosphere that Chino Valley is famous for. The two don't have to be mutually exclusive. I believe the town really is big enough to have a thriving business community without losing its rural flavor. Chris Marley, Mayor of Chino Valley. Do we have a status report from our town manager? Nope. Okay. Presentation of preliminary revenue projections for the fiscal year 2015-2016 budget from Mr. Joe Duffy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. Pleasure being with you this evening. As in the last couple of years, every year about this time, we prepare a revenue manual for council to review. This is the preliminary draft. We'll have one more stab at it as we get a few better numbers. But typically the timing of this is once we receive the state shared revenues, our projections are starting to get really, really solid for this next year's budget. The preparation of the revenue manual actually increases the accuracy of all of our budget projections by allowing us to really identify the specific trends with each revenue account. And we look at every revenue line item that we have, from the $1 million line items down to the $500 line items. On this slide I have that we look 5 years back, 5 years forward. The reality is we look 10 years in each direction and look for seasonality and all the other trends, and plus all the information we can gather in the market on where our revenues are. This document will be on the website tomorrow for anybody who would like to see it, and then the final will be published just once the budget is adopted. Some of the assumptions that we have is, in general, the revenues that we project, we use about a 3% revenue or increase per year in our projections, just in general, unless we have better data available to make those projections. Grants, interfund transfers, and carryover amounts are not included at this time, just because we do those once we have the total expenses with total revenues. And actually on Thursday night study session, I'll be bringing those to you. Now, one of the things at Chino Valley is we have been extremely conservative in the way that we project our revenues for the last few years. We basically projected everything with a 2% underlying growth rate for revenues and a 3% growth rate for expenses. Well, the problem is when you project over 5 years, and this year we're trying to balance our budget for the next 5 years, is the revenues and the expenses always exceed the revenues. So now that we've got our reserves built and fully funded, we're gonna dial this up a little bit and project our revenues at 3%. And we're going from conservative to be a little bit more realistic, but we still want to lean conservative. What's happened in this scenario each year is we ended up with a carryover fund balance of about $300,000 or $400,000 a year. Under this scenario, we're taking a little more risk, and we're probably going to be within $100,000 or $200,000 a year. So just understand that we're sort of dialing it up a little bit. I think we owe it to our taxpayers to be as realistic as possible. When we did it this way, we were in desperate times and we needed to let those fund balances build so we have our reserves. We're there. So I think we can take a little more risk in our budget and try to be a little more realistic. So just let you know, we've done this throughout the entire budget, and you'll see more of it with the expenses lining up on Thursday night. Yes, sir.
Are you ready for a question? Yes, sir.
Do we have any idea what kind of loss of revenue we're going to see because of alcohol leaving town?
It's not, I don't project it to be a significant loss of revenue, to tell you the truth, because there are other businesses will take up some of that capacity, but then we also have just general growth in the community. So I'm not looking, I didn't reduce our sales tax projections because of it.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions before you can, okay.
So I'd briefly like to go over some of our major revenues that we have. As you can see, our total general fund revenues have increased each year. Now, the dark orange line is where we're estimating this year to be at the end of this June 30, and the red line is next budget year. So as you can see, we've had good steady growth. Of course, from 13 to 14, that's when we increased the sales tax rate by 1%. But even with that, and this includes all of our state shared revenues and everything, our aquatic fees, our senior center income, everything in there, we're still projecting a nice steady increase of about 3 to 3.25% in total. So still very conservative, but okay. And that's when we took all the general fund revenues and added them up. Our state shared revenues, they're one of our main sources of funding, and the majority of them, except for HERF, all end up in the general fund. And this year's estimates, our vehicle license tax is up 5%. Our state shared sales tax is up 6%. However, our state shared income tax is down 1%. And that's because it always lags based on the collections from a couple years before. So next year we should see a little bit of an increase in that as the economy's been improving and people are paying more income tax. But this year I think it'll be our sort of our base year on it. And then our HERF revenues barely increased by 1%, and that unfortunately is not a good trend for us. We'd like to see that go up. But overall, the increase is a little over 2% for a total of an additional $87,000. Our sales tax, we break it up into two different funds. 3% essentially goes to the general fund, 1% goes to the capital improvement fund, and then we further subdivide it into whether it's construction sales tax or bed tax. And we get reported how much tax comes from construction and how much comes from bed for our bed tax. So I'm able to break that out. And so we're looking at about a 3% increase in sales tax overall and 4% in the capital improvement fund. And that's just because I think the amount we budgeted last year was a little bit low. So overall, we're looking at about a 3% increase in our sales tax revenue, or about $178,000 over last fiscal year. And that's over our estimate, not what we budgeted, but what our estimate was. So as you can see, we budgeted $4,996,000, and we came out with $4,129,000. So we budgeted very conservatively. We're beating the estimate. Next year, it's not going to be that close. Well, hopefully I'm way low. Our water fund revenues, again, our estimates came down low, and you can see the steady increase. Now, the one thing that we did, and it even affected the sales tax revenue, is the Prescott Transportation Water Tax is now recorded. It's not a sales tax. It's actually a revenue in the water fund. So that's where you see the biggest increase over the years. Of course, we still have our rate increase in there. If you look all the way out to 1920, where it drops down just a little bit, that's when the Prescott Water Tax goes away, because that was only for a 5-year agreement that we received that money. So at that point, it drops off. Now understand, we're using very conservative growth figures for a number of new units, both on our water and sewer. Only about 15 homes a year. And last year we did 30 onto our system. So we're keeping those down. The reason 14, our estimate's less, though, is we haven't received as many sewer or water buy-in fees into the system, because this is total revenues including service fees and buy-in fees. So with a little bit of growth, if we have a good building season this spring, that number could be a lot higher. But again, we don't want to project that until the money's in the bank, pretty much. The sewer system is doing really well. And again, this is just a reflection pretty much through 18 what our rates are going to be. I think, we'll have to talk about future rate increases, and the numbers will probably skew back down. But the sewer system, I'm projecting that, it's going to be breaking even by the end of next fiscal year, or this coming budget fiscal year. We should be pretty darn close to breaking even. So, and I'll share more of those numbers at our study session on Thursday. The capital improvement fund really tracks with sales tax. It's that 3% increase, the same numbers that we had before. So just a few final notes that overall our revenues are showing steady increases. Our state shared revenues are increasing, some a little more than others. Building-related revenues are increasing but are projected conservatively, and that's really our ace in the hole. If we see a lot of building activity in the community, all the numbers are going to look a lot better. We're still projecting revenues conservatively, even at 3%. We'll continue to update the projections as better data. I mean, every month we'll plug in the new numbers and make sure that they're right until we have to finally set the final budget, and that's about 30 days from now. And we'll put the draft of this revenue manual and the final on the website for your guys' perusal. Now, it's really important to remember that these projections are just as important as the expense projections. So if you take time and look at them and you think that I might be a little high or a little low on something, call me. Let's talk about it, because it's the more eyes on this, the better.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from council on that? All right. And as a council, we have wanted to be as conservative as possible insofar as our revenue projections. It's just good business.
It is.
So,
It is
thank
good
you.
business. Thank you.
Consent agenda. All those items listed below are considered to be routine and may be enacted by one motion. Any council member may request to remove an item from consent agenda to be considered and discussed separately. Do we have any items to remove from consent agenda? Either side? No. The chair would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve consent agenda items A, B, C, and D.
Second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Action items. Item 7A, consideration and possible action to approve wireless communication facilities project 2015 master agreement with Sun State Towers LLC and Pinnacle Consulting Incorporated. Number 2, installation contract for wireless communications facilities. Yes, sir.
Excuse me. I'd like to request to remove this from the agenda tonight and look at rescheduling it at a later date.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. You're not going to let me, I was having so much fun reading that.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, no, I'm hurt now. Okay, we have a motion and a second to, what was your motion again, to take?
To remove it from the agenda for this evening
Okay.
and look at rescheduling it for a later date.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, while we're still on this issue.
We're done with the issue, Mr. Chantos. Yes, sir.
You've already voted, Doctor.
You bet, you bet.
To talk on that issue.
I appreciate that.
I'm not going to be here for close.
That, we all need a vacation too. No, I understand. We're going to bring it back at a later date. If you would, please touch base with Mr. Turner and let him know. But once we have voted on an issue, Robert's Rules of Order doesn't allow us to bring it back up. So,
Mayor,
yes, ma'am.
if I might suggest, if Mr. Chantos wants to send a letter to the town and have it be here at the meeting, if he's not here at the next time it's heard, then he could do that.
That would be excellent. Okay, all right. Like I said, Mr. Turner asked to remove it, so if you would, please contact him if you have questions. Item B, consideration and possible action to establish a procedure for addressing code of ethics violations and to provide direction to staff to prepare an ordinance to be approved by council that will incorporate the council's recommendations into the town code.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
this public item regarding discipline and procedure should disclose all attached documents labeled privileged attorney-client communication so that the public and the town council can review and hold open discussions on the item. I move to waive and disclose the attorney-client privilege documents and postpone the item until the next meeting when such documents are made public. Each side in the dispute should have fair and unbiased opportunity and should be ensured fundamental due process. And if we're going to openly discuss this matter, we should have access to being able to discuss all these documents publicly.
Second.
Okay. Ms. Smiley, did you have any input on this before we continue? No? Okay. We have a motion and a second to disclose the attorney-client privilege document, which would be page 149, I'm assuming, page 149, 150, and 151 of our packet. Is that correct, Ms. Hatch?
That's what it lists.
Okay.
If there's anything related that should be enclosed, I mean, if we're going to discuss it publicly, we need to have those documents there.
Okay, we have to have those documents. Ms. Hatch feels that these documents should be publicly disclosed. We have a motion to disclose these documents and table this till a later date. We have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Aye. Motion carries. This item is tabled till a later date till we can, and we will have these counsel-client privileged documents disclosed. All right. Continuing onwards. Item C, consideration and possible action to approve the use of Sagan University to utilize the town as a pass-through agent for 3 tribal grants as per the requirements of Proposition 202. Ms. Gritman.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Dr. Eve Kasbaric and Dr. Bob Bulick, the provost from Sagan University, are here this evening to tell you a little bit about their university and how they would like to partner with the town. In partnering with the town, I'm referring to their request to use the town as a pass-through agent as they apply for various tribal agencies, grants from various tribal agencies throughout Arizona, Proposition 202, which was passed in 2002, requires a city, town, or county to be a pass-through agent for grants awarded from tribal agencies to a 501c3 organization. This was a compromise, Prop 202 was, made by the state, and where gambling casinos were allowed on tribal land, but a percentage of their gaming winnings had to be returned to communities to the betterment of the communities. So they had approached the town and asked us to act as their pass-through agent. So I've included some of the documents in your packets that show how the city of Prescott had done that in the past. So she's going to give a little presentation on Sagan University, and I think Phyllis can answer some questions as far as the process.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Would you explain for our audience what it means to be a pass-through agent?
Pass-through agent means that we have to act as, well, like the municipality that would accept the funds and then turn them over to the university. So we really have nothing more than just accepting the funds and then redistributing them. But when they come to us, we will have a IGA that we would sign with the tribal agency. So that would come back in front of the council, and it would have the terms of agreement, et cetera, and what our liability or not is, because there's really no liability. But you'll see that in the agreement. And so this right now, for tonight, just gives them the ability to apply. That's all it does for tonight. Okay. And we'll just act as the agent if the tribal agency agrees to fund them.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's go ahead and have the presentation, and then I've got several questions for our attorney. Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Attorney, as you know, part of my income is from a university. I just want to verify for the public that whether I have a conflict or not. I'm not sure whether the university I work for has applied for any of these funds. I don't have any idea, but and I don't know enough about their programs to know whether my university, Sagan's programs, to know whether my university is a competing university. like to clarify whether there's potential conflict of interest.
Okay. Councilmember Hatch, the first question that you would ask is, do you have a pecuniary interest, which means would you gain or lose something of value? So if approving this or not approving this would, say, affect your salary, then you probably would have a conflict. If there's no, I just can't see how it would affect it.
Yeah, I
but,
just want to be sure.
you know,
I mean, I don't know enough about either to know.
Right.
But I just want to verify that it's been brought up in case there's any question.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for letting us present to you tonight. I also want to thank Robert Smith and Cecilia for all the preliminary work that they have done to bring us forward to tonight. Oh, my name is Dr. Eve Kazmarek. Councilmember Hatch, thank you for bringing that up. I understand where you're coming from. I think after we present a little bit of who we are and what we are, you'll see no conflict of interest whatsoever. Just to give you a little background, I have been in education over 30 years. Sagan University has been in the works for a year and a half. I live in Rimrock subdivision, and I've been here for 7 months, and I love the town of Chino. I like the area, and this is an all-online university, so I can enjoy the rural area and still work at home. In fact, our Vice President of Operations and Director of Marketing live in Sweden. I don't need to be in a big office in a big city or a big university. This is the way of the future. We would like to bring Sagan University to Chino Valley. We have talked with the Chamber of Commerce. We've talked to the town manager and the assistant manager. I've also talked to the mayor and the vice mayor. And the reason is because why do I want to drive a long way to go to work? I want to drive here. And we've been looking at the is it the old National Bank building down for housing. We've, in the meantime, been Chino Valley Township, as far as Robert and the cooperation with the Chamber of Commerce Director, Arlene, have been looking at an incubator office. I never knew what that was until they told me what it was, until we are up and running. What we would like to ask the town of Chino tonight is to be the pass-through. The law requires a pass-through of a municipality. And since we would like the Sagan University to be housed in Chino, it seems the obvious go-through. There are no, this is done all over the state of Arizona. For example, our vice chair of our board is Dr. Bill Meyer, who is the Dean of Education for the Fort Yavapai Nation. He sits on the board for the Fort McDowell tribal monies. They have to give 12% of their profits and casinos to nonprofit organizations, which would be yourselves as well. So I'm here to tell you a little bit about Sagan. Hopefully you received some information about we're a 501(c)(3), everything's legal. We're incorporated in the state of Arizona, and we hope to open the fall of 2016. There's a lot to do between now and then. But I have prepared just a little presentation. Hopefully it'll be rather short for you to understand what Sagan is. Sagan, nonprofit corporation, and it is a undergrad and grad university. Our mission is to work with students in master's level or undergrads who across the board, okay? And one of the things one of the, I guess you'd say, the interests we have is working with the Native American population. And we have programs that will help people be successful, and I can tell you nobody else has, because I've been in education in academia for over 20 years and online, and I have seen what works and doesn't work. And one of the programs we have, we're going to show you in a little bit, called WALP. You can see Sagan exists for students. I have a staff of 16 right now that work diligently to create everything we need to do for the students and retention of students. We want to help people become leaders in their area, and we also want to work with people in Chino Valley and the surrounding areas to become leaders in their area. We have core values, and you can see if you were able to read any of our strategic plan, you probably saw a lot about this. What makes us unique is the WALP program. I wrote this program based on experience of what works and doesn't work. Every student that comes to Sagan will have a one-on-one mentor their whole year, their whole degree. Not just 1 year, not once in a while, but every week to be successful. That is unique. You can see some of the things we are doing. We're going to have on-site workplace experiences, things like that. We have found, and research shows, that if you're going to retain students, you need to, on online especially, you need to provide this one-on-one attention, which is hard to do on a virtual setting. So I just want to just show you some things where, again, our master's is 10 classes, 6 weeks, and it meets the Arizona state requirements. What we're excited about is that if you started a master's in January, it would be done before Christmas. And we're also excited about, we're going to be able to offer it at probably a low fee. At $350 a credit, and if you know anything about master's credits, they can go up to $1,500 a credit, depending on the university. We have 4 colleges: College of Business, College of Education, College of Criminal Justice, and College of Technology. Through our research, these are the most immediate needs of the United States and around the world. We will be global. I already have work going on in other countries. So basically, that's Sagan. What we're asking is, there are 19 casino tribes in the state of Arizona. We have 3 grants tonight that we would like the signature on. The one most pertinent is the Gila River. It is due Friday. So you can see I'm a little sweaty here, of hoping this will pass in the town of Chino Valley. We have 2 others, but we will be asking for other grants, Indian tribal nation grants, and those will pass through however you would like. And the pass-through is really up to the town, how that works.
Okay. Do we have any questions for Ms. Kesmera first? And then we can ask questions of our attorney.
Sure. I'm extremely pro-education, having taught in the United States at all levels and overseas. I guess my first question is, how long until you expect accreditation, and from what agencies are you expecting it? And then secondly, from our staff, I'm going to want to know how much staff time this is going to cost. And my understanding is that there is no sometimes administrative fee that you get with other grants that goes to the town. If it's going to take time, I was wondering about that.
Okay, good questions. Let's go back to your first one. We will be accredited by the Higher Learning Commission. The Higher Learning Commission has very strict rules. The first thing is you cannot apply for it until after 2 years that you are up. go up and running. The first thing they look at is sustainability. We've already started working on the packet, but until, let's say we all open August 2016, we can't apply for candidacy until 2018, August of 2018. After you get candidacy, you have 4 years to get accreditation. Every university in the state, in the United States, has to go through those hoops. North Central went through the same thing. As far as a fee, that can be worked out. If it does cost the town monies or time to shuffle the money from one place to the other, I'm sure we can work that out if and when we are awarded the grant. All 3 grants that we're asking tonight are awarded in June, and the monies come through in September. Each tribe has a different procedure and a different person that handles the grant. And it's been a little difficult to find out who and what, but we have the first 3 that we want to send out. Before I go on, I want to apologize to my provost. I'd like to introduce, he came here from Prescott for me, Dr. Bob Bulick. Want to stand up? He is the provost of our university, and my right-hand person. Everybody else lives in a different state. I'm so glad to have somebody I can talk to. So I really thank him for coming tonight and supporting this endeavor.
Thank you. Did you get your questions answered?
Yes,
ma'am?
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. I had a question for our town manager. How much of our town's resources do you expect to be used in this pass-through process?
Mayor, we expect the transfer of funds to only take one action, where the funds are received by the town and then we cut a check. So I would guess maybe 6 hours, 10 hours in a year.
Okay, okay. That's important to us. And secondly, will the town benefit financially from this?
No, sir, we would not be using their funds. We would just simply receive them and then remit them.
Okay. You had a question, ma'am?
Yeah, just for clarification, the Cocopah tribe is requesting $5,000. Fort McDowell, Yavapai, $5,000.
That's a mistype. It should be 15.
I'm sorry?
It should be 15. Yavapai, it should be 15,000. Yeah. See, each grant has a different amount of money they have earned from their casinos. So we also have to find out from each tribe how much they have to give. The Cocopah does $5,000 a month.
Okay, and the Gila River Indian Community is requesting $1 million.
Yes, $1 million. That's the time-sensitive one that we're very concerned about. They do not, if you looked at, I have the full grants here if anyone would like to look at them. They do not fund any staff administrative things. It's all programs. And we're also going to be working with partnerships with them to fulfill these programs. I'd also like to comment that by kind of making the preliminary, the initial steps of this, and I'm a professor, you as a town can also solicit for the grants because it's for municipalities. So by putting this action into place, you can elicit from each tribe every year a request for a grant.
Okay, thank you. Oh, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, to follow up, I don't know if I can get too far off. What are the range of grants? I know that our library got one time for doing a cover and handicap entrance. There don't seem to be limits in general.
The limits are only by the amount of monies that the casinos take in. So from year to year, it's a different amount. For example, Fort McDowell has $350,000 to give to everybody. So we're asking for $15,000. The Gila River has an extremely large amount of money, and they ask for $1 million. And everybody, so how much they really have, I don't know. that's not disclosed. We're also doing for the Kokopah, we really don't know how much money they have, but they told us that we can ask for $5,000, and they give out $5,000 a month.
And so a 501c3, even in something like recreation, could file for that kind of a grant and make their justification?
Yes, the municipality.
But you're not allowed to use it for administration, you're only allowed to use it for other things?
Each tribe has specific requirements.
Okay.
And you have to look at each tribe and do what they want. For example, the Gila River, we have to twice in the year that we get the grant, report to them exactly how we use the money, where the money went. But other tribes don't want that kind of, strict information. So it just depends on the tribe.
Okay, thank you. I had a question for our town's attorney, and I just wanted to, for our audience sake, are there any liability or exposure issues for the town? And not to be mean, but if the university goes bankrupt or something happens to the university, are there any liability or exposure issues for the town?
No. It is purely a pass-through. There will be an intergovernmental agreement that will come back to you when the funds are, if they get the grant and the funds are available. The intergovernmental agreement will be between the town of Chino Valley and the tribe, and it will give the terms of how the money comes in, the money goes out, and it will address those kind of things. Okay. I haven't seen one for this yet, but I would assume that there would be some information on that in that agreement.
Okay, thank you. And in our council packet, apparently other towns have done these pass-through agreements.
Yes, you can, Scottsdale, we've looked at Prescott Valley, Prescott, Fort McDowell.
Okay.
You have to have a municipality to receive the monies.
Excellent, thank you. And I have one more question for our town manager. Will there be any kind of accountability issues that you foresee, like us monitoring the university or any of those type of things?
But if there's anything that's in the IGA that'll be passed by the council, between the council and the university, I don't anticipate anything. We get cash in from an award to the university, and we send that exact same amount out to the university. So okay. We don't have a role to play in monitoring their performance.
Okay, thank you. And just also for our audience sake, Dr. Kazmira, hopefully when the IGAs come, we'll have more than a week to look at them.
Yes.
Because yes. We want to make sure that there is no liability for the town.
Yes, and actually the liability is illegally, if you called any town that does this, is between the university or the granting institution and the tribe.
Okay, thank you very much.
And it's very clear.
All right, thank you. Are there any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Is this a one-time deal, or is this going to be with frequency?
Well, we hope with frequency. We have 3 right now. There are 19 tribes that have casinos. We are trying to find out how to access the 501, Proposition 202 monies from each tribe. Depending on when we can find that information, it's been rather difficult. So there will be hopefully more. Oh, there is a side note I wanted to say.
Yes, ma'am.
We hope as we grow into a building, to able to provide jobs for people in Chino and the surrounding area that will be needed to work in the building in many capacities. As we know, that's futuristic, but we have many sources of monies coming in other than the Proposition 202. So this is just one avenue of many that we're looking at.
Okay, thank you. And just to make it clear for our council, all we're doing tonight is we're voting on whether to become a pass-through, and then we'll deal with individual IGAs, okay? All right, any other questions for the doctor? All right, thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion amongst council? Okay, the chair would entertain a motion.
As a former educator, I support this program heartily, and I'll make a motion to approve Sagan University utilize the town as its pass-through agent for 3 tribal grants as per requirement of Prop 202.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Our next item is consideration and possible action to appoint an interim presiding magistrate judge, and 2, to provide direction to staff regarding continuing research into options for alternative magistrate court providers and/or recruitment process for a permanent presiding magistrate.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn to executive session to discuss this item.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn to executive session to discuss the item. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Would you like to do it after a 5-minute recess?
Please.
Okay, cool. At 7:10, possible action. You ready?
Sorry.
Okay, no sweat. Consideration and possible action to, 1, appoint an interim presiding magistrate judge, and 2, provide direction to staff regarding continuing research into options for alternative magistrate court providers and/or recruitment process for a permanent presiding magistrate. I believe you had a motion that you wanted to make.
I would like to, I make a motion to move this discussion. We're required to give 48-hour notice to the person that we'd like to appoint.
24 hours.
I'm sorry,
Vice Mayor.
24-hour notice. Where did I get 48? 24-hour notice to the person that we'd like to appoint. To give us that time notice, I'd like to make a motion to postpone this agenda item until the March 26th study session.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and we've already notified our town clerk that we will be notifying the individual with 24 hours of notice. We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Who has not moved to adjourn? in a
Me,
long
move to
time?
adjourn.
Okay.
Second, third.
And we got 3 seconds. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
See you later.
All right, see you later.